Hello.
Hello, Pierre.
How are you, Robert?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Great response.
Yeah. Better for a take two.
Right. Do you want to explain to the guys at home what we're doing here?
So why are we here? I suppose it's just a bit of a breakdown, as we said we would do. But we're 9 months, maybe a little bit late.
Well, yeah. We're like 9.5 weeks out from the show. So I thought we would go over a little bit on last year's show, how we think it went, a little bit about Scottish bodybuilding, and the changes coming up in the next 9 or 10 weeks.
So, highlights.
Yeah, let's.
What sort of factors stood out for you last year?
Are you interviewing me now? Okay. Right. What stood out?
Well, I don't know if this is a you. You do me and I do you sort of thing. You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yeah. So, last year, that's the biggest the show's ever been. So incredibly grateful, humbling. It grew exponentially. So that was really cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
To see just how it progressed, and it just like it kind of took a bit of an incline and just kind of stayed at a steady incline until we hit the numbers.
So every year we start everything earlier and earlier, and we build and build and build up. So like it's a daily thing. And I think how early we started last year was a huge part of why we ended up being the size we were. And obviously, like the marketing we do, I don't think is very different. I'm going to go ahead and say our marketing is very different.
Very niche.
Very different from what a lot of bodybuilding federations and shows do. Yeah, we try and keep it interesting and lighthearted. So I think that helped us massively.
Yeah, which is, well, big shout out to Frank Johnson Media.
Yeah. Media does all our graphics, all our memes, all that stuff you see. That's big Frank.
So self-taught, a little bit backstory, because I've known him for probably going on 10 years or something. He started it like in his bedroom, like he used to like see all the Max Power cars and stuff like that, and he used to get cars and he used to Photoshop, like design his own cars.
Yeah.
So from that, it's kind of progressed into...
Why is he driving a Mark III Golf there?
Mark II, isn't it?
No, it's Mark III, bud.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So it eventually progressed and developed, and you know, he was never really doing it as a job, but he would do it like in our group chat. He would like,
yeah. So literally, his talent was spawned probably from
hilarious
Scottish thing where all the mates, take the piss out of each other.
But it was so well done and like so well thought out of, and it was just so talented. So it was kind of
Frank's like our man in the background. He's our man in the chair behind the scenes. The logo you see on the TV, he designed that. So. Big shout out to Frank. So yeah,
starting early was a big thing as to why the show became what the show is.
The sponsors, the businesses we had supporting us as well. Again, I think that's the first year where we've been completely full, sponsors wise and tables wise in the room. So again, that took a fair amount of work.
Yeah, I think we had to squeeze in extra tables even.
Yeah, I think we had to.
So we took a bit of a risk by saying, like, people were very, very keen to support us.
Yeah.
And we massively appreciate support.
Yeah.
So it was a case of, it's not can we, it's like, how do we make it?
Yeah, we'll find a way to make this work. Ticket sales as well. So that's the first time we were completely sold out that building. A few people have mentioned a bunch of times, why don't you do this? Why don't you go to a bigger venue? But I love that venue and the atmosphere it builds in that room.
It's so cool.
Like, if you've ever been to a bigger bodybuilding show, like, you'll notice it's very difficult to make an atmosphere in that room because it's so vast. So if we were to go to the P&G Live or something like that and book a giant room, like, getting the volume, the atmosphere, the crowd interaction would be very difficult. So until the ballroom said no, we'll continue to be at the ballroom.
Yeah, I think the ballroom's built for putting on a more of a performance as opposed to like just going to see something, if that makes sense.
And also logistically speaking,
what's it?
Shout out to Andrew Watts. Logistically speaking, everything's kind of within striking distance, plenty of parking, nice scenery, all that. So,
and it's a really handy building to navigate.
And then from an athlete's point of view, because we've looked at plenty of venues before we end up at the ballroom, like they don't cater as well for the athletes. So I don't want athletes getting ready in a plain concrete room in the back somewhere, in a hallway or something like that, or getting changed in toilets, things like that. So competitors have their own designated, warm, mirrored, floored area filled with everything they could possibly need on show day.
With windows.
It's windows.
Because if there's, I took a few things away from the shows I did go to last time. And one thing I noticed was, like, it was all just like, not quite box rooms, but it was like...
You were through the back.
Rooms in the back.
That's standard.
Whereas our athletes area is just literally windows. And it's a really nice view.
If you've never competed with us, or you've never watched any of the YouTube, or any of the behind-the-scenes stuff, so in our athletes area, we pump the show onto a big screen in the competitors area, onto a projector, so the athletes can sit backstage away from the show, put their feet up, and they can just watch the show as it unfolds on the telly. They also have a dance floor and a full wall of mirrors, so they can practice their posing. Weights, that's all we need to touch on. Weights, bands, and last year, the first year we did this, but we basically made, and this was after going to a bunch of shows last year, I noticed that a lot of people panic on show day because they didn't have salt, didn't have nut butter, didn't have rice cakes. So it's a wee sweetener from us, like, thank you for competing. We put a bunch of tables on that were for athletes only. So those tables included rice cakes, White Monster, because there's a love of White Monster, rice cakes, salt,
isotonic
drinks, like everything you could possibly need as a bodybuilder on show day. So if you were stressed and you were missing something, it was there to hand, so less stress on the athlete. So the building itself is fantastic for a show, but from a competitor's point of view, it's brilliant. And it's very easy to find. So less stress for the athlete, better show, all leads to a better show.
I think that was kind of your main sort of point for starting it in the first place, is you wanted to put on a show the bodybuilders would like to attend.
Yeah, and I think a lot of other shows say that, and that's literally the motivation behind it. So if you start off with just putting on the front of house stuff and making on, but you don't look after the athletes walk out and they're unhappy, they don't perform as well. But we do everything we can in our part to make sure the athletes are happy, get looked after, and have a good time. So then when they walk out on stage, they're stress free and they have a good time. So it works synergistically. And we want to make it as easy as possible to compete with us as well. So yeah, just drop us an email. We'll get you registered in, and away we go.
And if you haven't registered already, even though you're talking about doing the granite, get registered.
You're one of those people that's talking a lot about doing the granite and you haven't registered. Like, why is that,
You're not doing the granite until you're registered to do the granite.
Yeah. Don't make us call you out.
Yeah.
So the venue itself was monstrous. Music was good. Things we need to talk about are the negatives. Let's go over the negatives.
Yeah.
So we had an issue in the morning with the weights, and buck stops with me. We had a conversation, and it was the masters were a way to go on, and they didn't have weights to go on. Now, it's our responsibility. Now, a lot of shows don't bother providing weights. That's something we do, though. So by all means, we could have just said masters classes out there without dumbbells, stuff to pump up with. But that's not something I want to do. It's not something Pete wanted to do. So we made a call, probably upset everyone else, but make sure the masters were looked after. So we end up having to push the show back an hour, which cost us greatly in various ways. Stress, finance, upsetting athletes, blah, blah, blah. But by far, like the biggest and best the show's ever been. So try not to dwell on it too much.
So yeah,
that won't happen next.
Like you're saying, the main thing there was, again, going back to the point, it was a show for athletes.
Yeah.
Now, if we sent the athletes onto stage without giving them all the ammunition they needed, then again, it might be a case of, oh, well, they didn't do this for us. We're not going to come back to them.
Yeah, but then the flip side, so I try and take a step back and look at it outwardly. So from the outside, sorry. So we upset maybe 80 athletes to make sure 20 were looked after. Now, I stand by that decision. I'll probably make that decision again, to be perfectly honest, because I couldn't with a good conscience send them out there without weights. But a more business savvy person probably would have went, well, it's not our responsibility, out you go. But that's not how we roll. So yeah, that was one of the big negatives from last year.
Yeah, so just I think timings throughout the day, because then obviously the backstage operations, which I was trying to obviously navigate, I think I'd maybe underestimated ever so slightly just the size of classes.
Yeah, so I think if
coming through,
and let's use maths. So we went from like 50 odd competitors the first year, 60, 70 the second year, 70, 80 the third year, and then over 100 last year. So like it just grew. So if we needed to add more and more people to our team, more and more people to the security team. So yeah, it's just growing massively. So very grateful. Also, with more work becomes more work.
And on the timing thing, there was a comment made about our interval being a little bit too long, but obviously there was a reason for the interval being a little bit longer.
And what was that, Pierre?
That brings us on to the dream tan.
So, jump. I'll start this. So,
yeah. Well, if I may.
Okay.
So, a couple of times throughout the day, there's one part of the ballroom which A, we don't hire, and B, we just keep people out of it anyway.
Because it's not a stunning room.
Yeah.
It's far too pretty.
And it's just not a place we are controlling at that moment.
Yeah. But there's big signs saying do not enter.
Yeah.
There's barriers in the way.
So a couple of times I've had to go in and say, guys, you can't be in here. Could you leave, please?
Yeah.
And on one certain occasion, somebody was tanning in there. I said, guys, you can't be doing that in here.
So a room we're not allowed in because it's a listed building. It's completely Art Deco. These are for photo shoots and things like that. Had somebody painting Dream Tan on in that room.
Yeah. So the interval ended up being from, I believe, 45 minutes, ended up being about an hour and 15 minutes because
I was getting my balls chewed.
Yeah. The management had pulled you to the side and said, that seat is staying.
The ballroom came up and were like, hey, how's your day going? And I was like, bit stressful, bit full on, but yeah, I'm sorry. He's like, well, wait till I have a conversation with you.
Yes.
And they basically told us if they caught anyone else in that room, they would stop the show and we wouldn't be allowed to have a show there anymore. So you can understand the level of frustration we have when we ask people really nicely, when we provide a really nice area for people to tan up in, when we provide professional tanners, for them to disregard not only our rules, but disregard the ballroom's signage, barriers, and go into that room. So quite frustrating.
Yeah.
It's never the better athletes that do that. It's generally people who don't know what they're doing that do that. So please, if you're competing with us this year, respect the ballroom, respect us, or we'll just ask.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is one person's not very nice looking tan is way less important than a venue for an
because people like bodybuilders use Dream Tan everywhere. Like Big Adam Harding, Gazing, they've used Dream Tan at our venue before, and it looks awesome because they paint it on outside, they paint it on the right level, so it's not dripping off them. If you come to the venue last minute, slap it all on, and it's dripping off you, like one, you look crap. Two, you're 100% going to stain everything you fucking touch. And three, if you do it this year, you're likely to get booted out of the building.
And that's
so.
And that's not like a lie, or can't think of the word I'm trying to use, but if you are seen using Dream Tan in the building, you will be asked to leave.
Like, because we talked about this in the first year, and I basically. Like, the idea is we wanted to make sure the show was as accessible as possible for as many athletes as possible. So you're in Aberdeen, you can roll out your own bed, you can get a taxi down the show, you can get your nan to drive you, what you want to do, you can register, boom, boom, straight in the door. You can go get, a spray tan from your pal, walk in the door, get on stage, bang, compete. Make it as easy and simple as possible and stress-free to compete. Anywhere in Scotland, come and compete. So we have professional tanning at the site, professional hair and makeup at the site. like everything you could possibly need to compete, and it's all relatively inexpensive compared with everywhere else in the UK. So you could rock up on the day, boom, have a banger of a show. So we had discussed, I think most years, just outright banning Dreamtan, and it was actually me saying, look, we can't just ban it, but we need to keep saying, please don't use it, please don't use it. And now it's a case of we have no option because we would lose that venue, and you'd likely lose one of the biggest shows in Scotland.
Yeah.
By just being selfish, so please no. Anyway, I feel like I've gone on a bit of a ramble because that.
Yeah, Dreamtown really got to us this year.
It did, yeah. Most of the show, like true story.
Yeah, because again, the financial cost that got hit with us afterwards.
£272.
Yeah, it's that's a fair bit of coin, because at the end of the day, bodybuilding shows aren't for making money.
No,
like we don't have a high entry fee.
Nope.
We ask for no other costs by your entry fee. We put on the posing seminars. Yeah, we put on the posing seminars.
Take care of everyone. And we try and make the show bigger and sexier every year. So we put more and more into the show.
Yeah. So to incur a cost like that was a bit of a ball ache.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah. After, working for, 51 weeks on something.
Yeah.
Have that.
I don't want to say we were lucky, but I think we did. It was less of a kick in the nuts because we sold the venue out, though.
Yeah.
So that was, including the sponsorship seats, which we obviously reserve, that was 700 bums in seats.
Yeah. Ludicrous.
Mental. That's not including the 15/20 sponsors that were also gathered around the room as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so and I can't remember who I was talking with, but I was like doing the math. I was like, we take 100 odd athletes registered, competing, then you take the 700 people in the room. That's 800 people in one building in Scotland that have rocked up to watch a bodybuilding show or compete in a bodybuilding show, be involved in a bodybuilding show. So that blows my mind. But yes, please don't use Dreamta.
Yeah.
So yeah, positives. I'm going to say this, and I'm happy to debate it with anyone. You're not going to see a guest posing like that.
Absolutely.
In the UK.
No. Mate,
everyone would be 2025.
Everyone I spoke to about that was like, that was insane.
Yeah, I got, what just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, we're just like...
Now, in fairness, I got a bit of a grilling about the music, right?
Yeah, so Pete fucked up the music.
Gold Digger got put on. Probably not someone you weren't here at a bodybuilding show. So I should have been at back of stage. Listen.
So basically, I'm not sure if you know... 2 seconds. I'm not sure if you guys know what goes into the behind the scenes of a bodybuilding show, but we have like a default thing. So basically, if somebody's song runs out, the music runs out, we basically ask the DJ to play something similar. So I think Andy
had asked for Humble by Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, so he put on Kanye West Falling, which is completely the right thing to do because they are similar. Good shout. Yeah. But from a bodybuilding fanboy point of view, that should have been Five Finger Death Punch, Kickstart My Heart, something like that. Not CD Thunderstruck.
But I was like I was saying, like I was Kanye got up at this point and was on stage. So I just sat in Kami's seat and started videoing it. I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
This is 6 of the biggest guys, biggest amateurs in Scotland right now. So if we do a head count, we had obviously Jack Gunn posing. Then we had Andy Scott, now IFBB Pro.
Yep.
Then we had Ross Kerr.
Yep.
Then we had Taylor Johnson.
Yep. So that's 3 guest posers on one stage.
And Cami Duncan.
And Cami jumping off the judges' table.
Yeah.
If you go and watch that footage, man,
it's goosebumps, mate. It is goosebumps.
And then I asked the guys to pick their shots they wanted to challenge the guys. So I basically did a challenge round. I think they did that in the 2004 Olympia. You know, the one where you see like Marcus Rule challenge Ronnie to...
Most muscular. Triple H hosted that, didn't he?
Yeah. In a very shiny grey suit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think Andy picked real bicep. Jack Gunn, I think, picked abs and thighs.
It was so cool, man.
So, yeah, brilliant. Good crack.
It's gonna be difficult to top that this year.
So,
or is it?
I think it's going to be difficult, man. It is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
So we'll try and line up the best possible scenario we can, but it's like not everything can go to plan with a show. I say that before we start. Like, look, things are going to go wrong. but we need to pivot and move and keep going. We can't just go like, oh my God, this is a disaster, stop. So if everything we have planned goes well and we can land it, it's going to be as good, if not better.
Yeah, epic.
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll wait and see. Who knows?
We will have to wait and see.
Yeah. Buy some tickets. Listen to buy.
I think another highlight from last year was the BTS sort of mention.
Oh, yeah. The BTS channel. So they put up a poll basically asking what the best show the UK was.
Yeah.
I can't remember the math. You have to remind me of the math. But I remember being like, oh, that's really cool, and then not taking much note.
Yeah. So nominations was, I believe, PCA, British, and Universe. I believe there was like a
couple of
two-row shows, and then us.
Basically all the big shows in the UK that are still relevant, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I'd not taken a lot of notes. I was like, oh, that's really cool to be nominated. And then I was just, the next time I checked my phone, I had like 70 notifications or something from like people just tagging our show. I was like, wow, that's really cool. I wonder how that's going. So I went and checked on it, and it was really cool to see that everyone had thought it's got to be Granite. Boom, 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 boom.
That was it.
I didn't see a lot of votes for everyone else. Obviously, it's a bit of a popularity contest, I guess, to a certain degree, but it was really humbling and cool to see that people, like, the things we think. Like, we think our show's really cool. We think we do a good job.
Yeah.
We think we make it awesome for the people watching as well as the competitors. And the evidence of that was everyone commenting. So that was really cool to see. From my point of view, anyway.
Yeah, it was very, very cool to see.
Yeah.
It's like
because we're up against monsters.
Yeah, I mean, PCA Universe is an enormous show.
The biggest show in the UK.
Yeah, absolute monster of a show.
Yeah.
And then also the British as well is monstrous. So even to be up against those two, you're a bit like...
Well, like well-established federations, you got two Muppets from the north of Scotland putting on a bodybuilding show. Be able to have a...
Who's that?
So yeah, that was really cool. That was awesome.
And then obviously after that, so I believe PCA Universe, after being voted by a panel, the PCA Universe, I believe, won that.
Yeah, and dude, it's immense for bodybuilding.
Yeah.
PCA are a giant monster, and I think people like to be like, oh yeah, you're better than the PCA. We do things very different from how they do it, and I really respect.
Yeah.
And I love what they do.
We know what we are to the PCA. I think we get that. Like we're never gonna try and aim for the PCA. You know what I mean? We're just gonna do our own thing, and you know.
Yeah, if you imagine the PCA are like this thoroughbred stallion who runs in the Grand National, we're like the donkey from Shrek.
Yeah.
Hilarious, entertaining. You watch that.
Yeah.
With that donkey all day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love what the PCA do. It's amazing. But yeah, the cool part of that was seeing people kind of vote with their feet. That was just.
So talking about the PCA, so obviously this is a big year for the Scottish PCA as well, because it's the first time it's ever been a pro qualifier, I believe.
Yeah, so we went to the show last year, the SWG3. Yeah, and it is what it is. I didn't think the venue suited bodybuilding, but again, a monster of a show. We went down to cheer on Derek Wilson. We went down to cheer on all the people that come down from the north to compete at the PCA. We're not shy about that. Like, we'll go to all shows and cheer on people from Scotland. But I don't think it lends itself particularly well to bodybuilding. But the venue they have booked this year is
proper.
Yeah.
Absolutely
proper. Yeah, proper.
I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. So
pro qual. So pro.
We'll definitely be going. We'll definitely be there. Cheer on. Whether you want us to cheer you on or not, we'll be there.
We're gonna learn your name.
Yeah, and it's in the same.
Even if you didn't compete at Granite, we're gonna learn your name.
I think traditionally it always been in Glasgow, and now I think probably because of venues, and it's also in the centre of Scotland. It's a little bit more accessible because there's obviously, well, I'm not saying it's our fault, but there's a lot of bodybuilders from the north of Scotland coming out of the woodwork now, so it's very easy now to logistically
speaking,
get your way to Perth. Like, hop on a megabus and you're there for a fiver. So
And like realistically, it is middle of Scotland.
Yeah, religious no.
So it's pretty even for everyone.
Really handy right now to have a globe, a big map or something.
A globe?
Yeah, this is where Perth is.
That's what I should buy next.
Yeah.
So if for those of you who don't actually know where I am, we're in my flat right now. So welcome to my humble abode.
Yeah, this is not a fancy podcast studio.
We're
Pete's Gaff.
We're going to be in I believe a studio as soon as the dedicated lads.
Do you know what? Actually, while it's because I'm an elderly man, and I think this is for me anyway. Personally, this is one of the most important parts about last year for me, and I think we've kind of skimmed over it. I'm not going to say we've taken it for granted, but it's the money shot for me. Now, previously, first, second, and third year. So I think I have an idea of how the show's gone, and I wait for the photography and the videography to come back before I make peace with it and be like, it's went well, this went wrong, that was good, this was worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first year where I've got the videography and I've got the photography, and I have been blown away. So the team we have behind the scenes, the guys in dedicated production, Luke, Will, their entire team are spectacular. Hire them if you haven't. Now, the photography that came out of last year's show was better than anything we've ever seen. The behind the scenes stuff was better than anything we've ever seen. The video, the trailer,
so good.
was so cool.
Oh, dude, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this is going to be a movie. Man.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. And that for me is like I will sit being like, no, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, because I was messaging you for like 3-4 days after. I was like, mate, that was so sick. And you were like, nah,
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because you do, like, in fairness, you do get hung up on the negatives, which is fair enough.
Yeah, that's my nature. So,
yeah.
Not like I'm a whinging old man or anything, but like
surely not.
Yeah. So I assess how it's went. I try and take a step off.
Yeah.
But then when the video and the photos came through, I was like, we put on a pretty good show, man. A pretty good show. So, shout out to Luke and the guys at Dedicated Production.
Massive shout out.
Can't.
I'm not just saying that because they're filming this one, but it was so sick.
He's behind me. Yeah, so I thought we'd touch on that because
yeah, absolutely.
Insane. If you haven't booked your packages yet, get in touch because they'll sell out because they're awesome.
Yeah. So PCA in Perth. I would compete at that show. That sounds awesome. Yeah. The medals look very cool as well. They're custom made. PCA Scotland medals now.
Yep.
So
in the shape of Scotland. That'd be pretty cool.
Should we talk about the elephant in the room as to why? Well, not supposed as to why. A very important thing we should probably cover, seeing as we're both here.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So some big news. For a multitude of reasons, the granite will no longer be associated with the IBFA. I know, crazy. I know half you people watched.
Sorry, I was having to gasp.
Yeah, gasp. Yeah, I know half of you people probably watching didn't know that we were even associated with the IBFA. So for this to make sense, I'll take you back to day one. So I had a relationship with the previous chairman, Martin, great guy, and he was very helpful when it came to me starting the show. And basically, we waived all fees for everyone for the first couple of years because of COVID, and we didn't want anyone to have to pay anything to compete. Now, to be perfectly frank, Martin's been getting on a bit and has had ill health. But during that period, that's the wrong way to say it, sorry. So we've been a standalone show. So the IBFA don't give us anything other than maybe the services of Jimmy Salmon as a head judge. So we are completely self-funded. We pay for everything. Everything from the rice cakes for competitors to the trophy is all paid for by us or by the merchandise you guys buy. So we're completely self-sufficient. Now, the IBFA have gone through a bit of a restructure. And in the nicest possible way, I don't think our values align anymore. They seem to be moving in a slightly different direction from where we would like to go. And as they don't bring anything physically to the show, it doesn't really make much sense for us to stick around. The first year, they told me I couldn't have men's physique, and who thought it? I campaigned for men's physique and explained my reasoning for having men's physique. So they swallowed it, and I had men's physique.
On behalf of men's physique, I want to thank you.
So yeah, for all you men's physique competitors, they said no. The second year, I said I was going to add classic into the show. They said I would have to call it athletic. I basically said I'm not going to do that. I was taking everything that's cool away from that. And then last year, I'd suggested wellness. I was told no again. So it seems to be like they were moving very slowly, and I was wanting to keep up with the times and make the show interesting and relevant. Now, that's nothing against people that run the IBFA. Like, it's a slow-moving thing. I get that. But as they weren't physically bringing anything to the table, the more and more I was butting my head off this brick wall, the less and less sense it made. They've since got a new chairman, and he's doing what he can to make the federation, what he wants to make it into. And again, that's not, like, our values just don't align. We don't get on particularly well. He had suggested like a bunch of things we should do with our show, and they're not things I would ever want to do with my show. And the big point, and the biggest point for me of this is, so we charge a very nominal fee for people to come and compete with us at our show. And we've kept it historically small, like a tiny amount of money, to come and compete with us. To make it easy to compete, the IBFA would now like to start charging people money to compete with us when they don't bring anything to the table. And I don't think that's fair on the athletes. I don't think it's fair on us. So yeah, they would like to charge the athletes more money, and I'm always going to be about the athletes, and I don't think that's right when they don't bring anything to the table. Now, I think from my memory, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've only ever had one athlete go to their British
finals
ever. Chris Duncan.
Shout out to Chris Duncan. Big shout out to Chris Duncan.
Yeah.
Nominated for best poser last year, so
yeah,
big shout.
Great poser. Needs to come in sharper, but fantastic. Competed us a couple of times, and he went to the British. Now he's the only person I can think of that went to the British. So
there's touching on that. So obviously with the membership fee that they're wanting, Scotland's now, or currently, up until we've obviously announced this, there's now no longer any IBFA shows in Scotland. So
no, there is. They've announced they're putting on one in Livingston in.
Oh, sorry, I tell a lie.
August
version.
One with the
that one.
Dude with the horse's head.
That's the one.
Yeah. So they would like to start charging athletes more money. I imagine so they can build their federation. That's fantastic, but they haven't given us is the wrong word. They haven't really supported us at all. If anything, they've been a hindrance rather than helping us throughout this process. So for that reason, we will be parting ways with the IBFA, and will be an independent show. We're not moving to another federation. Certainly not anytime soon. But if we ever did, it would need to be the right move for the athletes.
I think but going to an independent show, I think looking at the pros for this as well. So not just pulling away from the IBFA just because of those reasons.
Yeah.
Obviously, going independent opens up loads more avenues for us.
Yeah, so there's a lot of IFBB pros that we've approached over the years that are like, I'd love to come here. Like, man, year one, I asked Luke Sando, rest in peace, asked James Hollingshead, and it's the IFBB pro thing. Like, you can't compete with another federation, you just can't. But there are some loopholes. So if you are an independent show without a federation, you may get a pass. If you're sponsored by somebody who's supporting the show, you may get a pass. So it's a case-by-case basis. So we'd like to make it again, as simple as possible to have the best show possible. So if we are an independent show and we keep bringing the level of businesses we do to the show, we're more likely to be able to put on bigger and better guest posers, have bigger and better people involved. So again, another huge reason. So for instance, Andy Scott. So Andy Scott guest posed for us. Second year he guest posed for us.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen that,
Unreal.
ludicrous. So good.
He is so good at what he does. He is such a big man.
Yeah.
He's a big, handsome man, and he is so good at what he does.
If you need posing tuition.
Wow. So yeah, he guest posed the second year. He guest posed the second year.
Yep. And then he jumped out the crowd without any prompting at all last year in socks.
We had no idea he was
We had no
right?
clue he was going to do that.
We had no idea he was going to do that.
So we couldn't have Andy at the show this year because he's now an IFBB pro. So that I'm not saying it's just because of Andy, but we can't have a certain caliber of athlete at the show because we're affiliated, and that federation no longer aligns with our own values and they don't bring anything to the show. So yeah, for those various reasons, we will be parting ways with the IBFA.
I'm out. I don't know if it's a dragon.
It's not us, it's you.
Yeah. So going on to next year.
Yep. Dan
Oh.
Bastick is attending the show with Engineer Muscle. Dan Bastick is obviously a massive name in the industry. If you don't know who Dan Bastick is, why are you watching our YouTube? Go check out Dan Bastick.
So yeah, Dan is sponsoring the most muscular award this year.
So whilst we appreciate, we have the Darren Mullally Best Poser Award.
Yes.
So presentation is brilliant and the lost art of posing is something we want to reward. But also, we just love big dudes, eh?
We do?
Pete does.
Is that why we don't align with the IBFA anymore?
So yeah, basically,
What kind of podcast is this?
we would like to award most muscular physique on stage.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, obviously, there needs to be a level of condition there.
Oh yeah, you can't just rock up.
Yeah. We can't just have the massivest dude standing on the stage, because then I'd do it. You know.
It's gone weird, isn't it? So yeah, we've got Dan.
I'm not the one talking about big dudes. You know what I'm saying?
We've got Dan and his team coming. The guys from Engineer Muscle are coming.
Yeah.
Dave Carlson is coming with the eval again.
Who will be doing this seminar the day before? It's worth knowing. So Dan.
Dan was partner Romana.
They will also be
A
attending
bunch of other athletes.
the PE. Well, it's not. It's probably worth noting. It's not necessarily a PED seminar. So it's not all about gear and drugs and stuff like that. It's a training.
Stimulus, nutrition,
Yeah.
blood work. They'll be doing blood work at site.
We got ours done last time.
Yeah, you'll also be getting like some of the best minds in bodybuilding, UK bodybuilding, in one room, and you can pick their brains for as long as you need to. So definitely worth popping down.
Yes. Would you like a glass of water?
I'd love a glass of water.
Get a glass of water, please. There's cups in the top right.
Also, the seminar will be taking place at Warehouse Health Club. If you haven't been to Warehouse, get down. It's arguably the best gym in Scotland. It's also where we put our tanning on as well. So if you're an athlete, that's going to be the location for tanning. So if you've still got some degree of brain function, if you're not too prep brainy and you want to jump into the seminar, give us a shout. So tanning at Warehouse, seminar at Warehouse, and some of the best bodybuilders in the UK, all in one room.
Yeah. The buzz on the day before is so
That's something we should talk about, actually. Yeah.
yeah. And I think it's worth mentioning. It's amazing service you get here. There. It's worth mentioning Andrew Chappelle, because it always goes back to that time where me and you were in just getting a little disco pump, feeling good about ourselves, and Andy stopped us.
Yeah.
And he said, "Guys, go and just like take a second." And we're like, "What do you mean?"
Nah, bro, I'm going to lose this pump.
Yeah, man. He's like, "Okay." And he's like, "Just look around for for just a minute, right?
Yeah, I'm really glad he did that.
Yeah, he's like, just look around and just take this in for a minute. So, like, also we're realizing, like, yeah, this place is really, really busy. And he's like, that was you guys.
Yeah, it's like 1 p.m. on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
The gym was full.
He's like, all these people are here for the show tomorrow. And this was the first year as well.
Yeah.
So this is like, obviously, right after COVID.
Yeah.
Certain restrictions were still in place. So it was still a little bit of a ball ache.
Yep.
However, he was like, these guys are here.
Yeah, so there was people competing, people there to see people competing, people there to try the gym out from across Scotland, photo shoots taking place, and it just took him pulling us out of our training session and be like, yo, take a second, take this in.
That was so cool. I think that was the first, that was probably one of the most humbling, or probably the most humbling in my current bodybuilding career, if you want to call it. But it's the first time I was like, yeah, this could actually be a thing.
Yeah.
Because even rewinding a year previous to that, and me and you are stood at the Arts Centre with 300 seats. 270, sorry.
Yeah.
And we're both even thinking to ourselves, we'll be lucky to fill this place.
Yeah.
And
we sure showed them.
Yeah. And it was at that point where Mushy had said that, and I was like,
"I'll show you, Nicholas Sturgeon."
Yeah, I was like, this might actually be a bit of a fucking thing here. This is really, really cool, actually. Yeah. And then we obviously went on, had a really, really cool show. Again, the first show. I think it was 44 on the nose.
First year.
Yeah.
Ali Brune won.
Big shouts to Ali Brune.
There is a rumour he may be competing at this year.
There is a rumour. So if that rumour is true, this will be the first time we've ever had 2 overalls competing back at
You
the
could
show.
potentially have Ali Brown and Chris Payne on stage at the same time, which I think is something a lot of Scotland want to see.
Yeah, that could be very cool. It'd be nice because it's almost like a return of the champion.
You're a betting man. Who'd your money be on? I think Chris will come in peeled. Ali Brown shapes maybe a bit nicer.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, because I haven't seen Ali
for a couple of
years.
I was talking to Chris last week.
Yeah.
And he was like, I've put on like 6 or 7 kilos. And it shows out. Because you see the progress photos of when he was 10 weeks out before as opposed to 10 weeks out this time.
Yeah.
And he's enormous. He's a big guy. But then Ali Brune's had like 4 years to get massive.
It's cool to see this is now becoming a show that like the big boys want to compete in.
Yeah.
Great to see those two up against each other.
Look at us gossiping, huh? That would be very cool to see. But I think the one that me and you really want to see, what we really want to see, we want to see Phil Wright come out.
Phil, we want to get on stage, bud.
We want to see who is the one and only Mr. Aberdeen. So that's 3 times now that Steve's won it.
So you got Steve versus Phil Wright.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be interesting.
Right. I'm pretty sure Phil's going through a natty transition just now.
Is he?
So
Well, they're basically...
So it's a level playing field.
They're basically the same then, yeah.
Natty competitor. There you go. It's fair game.
Yeah, Phil just needs to be able to pull 300 off the floor and then basically the same guy.
Yeah. Yeah, so Steve versus Phil. That'd be cool to see. Is there anyone you'd like to see jump on stage?
You?
I'll be there, man. I'll be there. I'll be there. In a tuxedo.
I'll have my budgie smugglers on underneath my Velcro suit just in case.
Yeah, just in case there's an opportunity to get a 3rd place trophy at Men's Physique.
I'll run round to Steph and be like, glaze me up.
No, not again. Get away from me. Yeah. Shout out to Steph who does the tanning, by the way. Yeah. She takes a ton of abuse and deals with a lot of shit behind the scenes. So
shave your bums.
Appreciate it.
Guys, shave your bum holes.
Shave your bum holes. No badger stripes. Nobody needs that.
Yeah.
Skin prep.
So yeah, Steph. Very exciting for this year.
Yeah. It's so the like it just feels like every year we've got the OGs. So we've got Warehouse in the room, we've got Highland Supplement Centre in the room, we've got Fat Batch in the room. Ass ever, love you guys. And then we've added to it over the years, and now we've almost got this cheesy, I don't want to sound like Vin Diesel, with this like family in the room.
No, you said it. Family.
I'm not saying that.
Family. Just do Vin
There you
Diesel
go, friend.
What's this podcast become? We're just doing Vin Diesel impressions.
Yeah. So, the guys from Heavy Duty come every year now. We've got Engineer Muscle, Dave Crawls, and the guys from Eval. So we're now adding to it, and I said this briefly in the video last year, and all about this is why I think bodybuilders should put on bodybuilding shows for bodybuilders. So there's things that if you're just like a businessman on the outside wanting to host a bodybuilding show, you won't know to do, you won't pick up on, you won't think about these things. So yeah, the whole making everything as easy as possible for the athletes, the sponsors, things like the music. It's solid, like we take a lot of time in making sure the music is good, and not just generic crap.
Yeah, so Thunderstruck is banned.
AC/DC Thunderstruck is banned.
I can't remember where it was, but I was at a show last year, and obviously every year we've done it.
I remember where it was, Pete, but I'm not going to call them out.
No,
Stop playing AC/DC Thunderstruck.
but basically this is day one.
It's lazy.
Yeah, basically this is day one. You've said every show plays it. We're not playing it. I'm like, excited. Well, I mean, 1,000 other songs that we could play.
It's got a minute long running, and by the time it gets good,
Judging's already.
close down's over.
Yeah.
Off you go home, boys. Terrible.
So I went to this show, and I think I counted 7 times I heard Thunderstruck.
Well, maybe that's like their pose down music. Like maybe they've just decided this is our pose down music. That's fine. Do you want to do? We do things differently. Don't copy us or copy us. Like whatever you want to do. But we cater it to every class. So you'll notice, like, I don't know, Masters ladies don't come out to ACD Thunderstruck. They come out to, Whitney Houston.
Men's physique don't come out to Thunderstruck either. They come out to House Every Weekend.
Yeah,
As you like to call it.
Whoever Spicy Pete here wants to play.
Yeah.
Bikini. The Class 1 guys come out to Rammstein, Five Finger Death Punch, like that kind of stuff, because
Not Thunderstruck.
not Thunderstruck. So yeah, that's something else we do. So, like, although it may look like a couple of maniacs putting on a bodybuilding show, there's so much that goes into the finer details. Our judging panel are monstrous, and see, organising them, we're very lucky to have some of the best judges in the UK, and they're good enough to turn up and take the time to judge that entire show. And now, like I said, they end up staying nearly 2 hours later than they were meant to last year. So
Yeah, so that's already a 10-hour day, including the time they come in early to have the judges meet.
Yeah.
To chat through anything.
The entire judging panel, plus adjudicators, plus a judge for breaks. The media team is now 5? 6. 6 in the media team. Steph and her army of tanning homies.
I believe maybe 2 of them, but obviously we've got an extra tanner just in case.
Yes, we have a secondary tanner that's offered their assistance.
Yeah.
We'll speak to Steph about that.
We have the tailored security guys, of which we have
the guys from
5 or 6 maybe.
Yeah, it'll be 6 this year. So 6 security staff from the venue, then our personal teams, 5 or 6 guys. So it's just every year a bit bigger. And like it needs to get bigger. Our stuff behind the scenes needs to get bigger because the show's getting bigger and bigger, and we need to make sure the athletes have a good time.
Yeah. But again, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, like, we will have to start capping things because it needs to be manageable.
Yeah.
Like, we can't have, like, the WNBF, for instance, right? Steph had a monster of a show. I believe it was like over 200-300 athletes.
Yeah.
Mental.
Yeah.
We couldn't do that.
Incredible.
There's no way we could do that.
Absolutely not.
So it's going to be a case of...
I'd have murdered you by 4 p.m.
Yeah. It would have been a case of we're going to have to actually cap classes because, like, our classic class last year, 22 in the classic.
I think we need to touch on the negatives of the classic class, which for us...
There was none.
There was none.
There was
2 people.
None.
2 people on our socials decided to get quite upset.
Yeah.
Message us and give us abuse.
I believe the word clown was used. Pantomime.
Yeah. Disgrace. This is a disgrace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, to be honest,
I could read it.
It was really funny to read it. Really funny to read it.
Yeah.
Because we seen exactly what it was.
Yeah.
That was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Because you don't get 22 guys on a stage. Not only that, you don't get them coming up and getting involved with the crowd.
So basically, if you were in our show last year and you haven't watched last year's video on YouTube, when it came to the men's pose down, a bunch of the classic guys decided to go full guest poser, jump off the stage, jump up on the judges' tables and start posing on the judges' tables. And it was incredible.
It was so cool. It was so cool.
And it was really cool to see. A couple of people didn't want to get involved in that. That's absolutely fine. They'd had their time on stage. The pose down is almost like a little bit of icing on the cake. And they didn't want to get involved. That's absolutely fine. I'd say out of the 22, 20 jumped off stage and got involved. Had a great time. But yeah, a couple of people were a bit miffed about it. Random people in the crowd thought it wasn't very good. But the overwhelming majority seemed to think it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in bodybuilding.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane.
Yeah. So
that was a mix. That was a mix of first timers as well coming up and getting involved. And that's even cooler.
Yeah.
Because it's like this is your first ever bodybuilding show, and you're enjoying yourself that much. So you're like, you know what? Fuck it, let's get involved. We absolutely love that. Now, obviously, we're not saying if you're entering the show, jump off stage.
No.
But
it was an organic moment.
Yeah.
And we appreciate it.
Read the room.
But we're not going to actively encourage that. Health and safety. I'm not sure. Specifically, the table Sam Milne stood on, I don't think holds any structural integrity anymore. So
yeah, that was like that table looked like Spider-Man holding back that train.
Yeah.
So really
struggle bus.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, there was that. That was gigantic. Yeah.
Just huge.
Pretty big. Yeah. Big show. The music as well. So the music. So see the first year we did it, I didn't have a microphone. Remember that? We had Callum, and Callum's great, but there were things that needed to happen on the day that I would have said had I had a microphone, and I wasn't able to. So the second year, I put a microphone in my hand. Now, in case you hadn't gathered, this is not my natural habitat. This is not somewhere I want to be or enjoy being, but it's a necessary evil because of my love and understanding of the sport and how it works. So the second year, I was able to call, I think it was Nicola Lewis versus Neve, and that was Forge Gym Inverness versus Warehouse, as they will call that stuff out. Now, because let's be honest, out of that 700 people that are at the show, half of them are bodybuilders. The other half are people's mums, people's sisters, their brother, blah, blah, blah. People that have just come to watch but maybe don't understand bodybuilding. So I try and make it really easy to understand what's going on. It's this person versus this person. Who have you got? That lifts me up, lifts the atmosphere. So I do my best to do that. And then with the music in touch, so we put guest posing music on that we think is relevant, and people will, not guest posing, pose down music on that is relevant and we think people will enjoy. So that lifts the crowd, that lifts the bodybuilders, and it all works synergistically with the atmosphere. So I try and make it as interesting an event to watch for somebody who's maybe not into bodybuilding. And that's why I have a microphone, for no other reason.
So on that,
yeah,
I was asked by a certain someone who runs a certain federation whilst I was at that show.
Yeah.
And I was down there with Steph. She was guest judging. And Steph was like, "Oh, this is Pete, by the way. He runs a Granite with Rob." And this said promoter was like, "Oh, it's nice to meet you." And the first thing she asked was, "Why do people go to your show? Why do people compete at your show and not this one?" So I believe, obviously, we had 105 registered, I think, for our show. That was the number, 105. And I counted 27 on stage at this show.
Okay.
2-3 weeks after ours.
Yeah.
So they said, "Why do people compete at your show and not ours?" And I said, "We've got a Rob Rose." I said, "What do you mean by that?" I was like, we've got atmosphere. Like, we've got unmatched atmosphere. Like, Steve does a phenomenal job.
Yeah. Cassidy.
Yeah, Steve Cassidy, who's host for the PCA, does a phenomenal job every show. He really gets involved. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's in a new city every weekend. Yeah. So he's got to do that every week. So absolutely props to him. But I think because it's Aberdeen, and everyone in Aberdeen in bodybuilding knows who you are, and you know what to say at the right time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
I do occasionally get it wrong.
Perfect example. The Ronnie Coleman seminar.
Yeah.
Right? The Ronnie Coleman seminar. You were looking after Ronnie Coleman.
I was.
Which was very cool to start with.
Yeah.
And then they were asking questions and they were saying, I asked, who's your top 3 bodybuilder?
It was exactly what you expect from any
Yeah, and someone else was like,
old school versus new school.
how do you train legs and stuff like that?
Optimal versus...
So then you grabbed the microphone to pass to somewhere. you were floating, we'll say. And you grabbed the microphone to hand it to someone at the back. And you just went, Ronnie, could you just give us a, yeah, buddy? And the place went fucking tits. And I was like...
But I basically said what everyone in that room
exactly
wanted to hear at that moment.
But that's why
Everyone wanted Ronnie Coleman to just scream, yeah, buddy, as loud as he could. that was the money shot.
it was so good though.
Yeah.
So my point was, it was like, you know what to say at the right time. You know how to build an atmosphere.
Try.
And everyone local knows who you are. And everyone's buzzing with.
The other thing is, I know who you are. And I know if you half rep on a leg press. I know if you quarter squat. I know all this stuff. I see it all. I know if you haven't been dying hard enough.
And
I know what you're going to look like before you walk out on stage.
And we also know if you say that you're 10 weeks out from the show, but you've not registered.
We do know that.
Because I could say I've got like a list of 5 names at least
You know who you are.
of people who say,
Some emails after.
hey, I keep forgetting to register, mate.
Yeah.
And I see them in the gym, like every other night. I'm like, dude,
He's giving you a location. Says Warehouse Health Club.
yeah. I'm not going to say any certain names, but me and you both know who they are.
Yeah. So get registered, guys.
But you're like, stop telling me you're going to register. Just email me.
So we have an understanding of generally where most people are at in their prep because we pay attention. Like we're on the socials every day, and we reshare everything we see. So I have a rough idea of how everyone's prep's going. I have a rough idea who's from where they're going to get on stage, and I like to the person who asked how people come and compete with us. I think that's a huge part of our atmosphere. So I know, for instance, that that year I know that Neve was competing and Nicola was travelling all the way down from Forge Inverness, and Nicola was probably carrying a chunk more muscle than Neve was, but Neve was maybe in better condition. Like, I knew that before they got to stage. And I knew it would be a kind of apples and oranges thing, those two going head to head. So it was really easy for me to go, is there anyone here from the north of Scotland, Inverness, Forge Gym, boom, 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 microphone above her, who you got? And they blow up. And then you go, anyone here from Aberdeen, Warehouse, and they blow up. And it's that level of understanding, I think, that lends...
Is there anyone here from Thurso? Just random folk from Thurso. Like.
Nah. Sorry, bud.
That's where you're from, right?
No.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. North of the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do we have to go over? What'll be different? What'll be different next year? How are we doing for time? If you've been tuned for this amount of time, please like, subscribe, follow.
Yeah, do the thing on socials.
Yeah.
And register as well.
Register if you haven't. Buy tickets, all that good stuff. Like, legitimately, like, whatever you put into the show, like, if you buy a t-shirt, you buy a hoodie, anything like that, it goes back into the show. So when you see that the athletes are getting looked after, they're getting all these special treats, when you see the trophies are really cool, when you see we put on sparklers, giant projectors, all that stuff, the videography team, all that is paid for by you guys supporting the show. So yeah, please continue to do that, because if you guys continue to do that, we'll keep putting on a banger of a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've covered pretty much everything.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to go over? No, I don't think so.
No.
You good?
So 30th of March, Aberdeen Beach Ballroom.
I feel like if you're watching this, you already know that, but just in case, 30th of March.
People do ask the questions.
Mm-hmm.
I am on the other side.
It's on Mother's Day, so apologies.
Mums go free. But on that, if you've registered and you're taking your mum with you and she doesn't have a ticket, give me an email. I believe there's 3 spots left.
Yeah.
So
So
3 more
special
months.
VIP area just for your
3 more months can go free, but Rob's looking after that VIP area. Just a heads up.
Hello.
Yeah, man, we've got an absolute monster just ready to be awoken.
Yeah. So, in the meantime, if you need anything at all, drop us an email and we'll get straight back to you. Yeah. Whatever info you need with the show.
So yeah, follow, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your mum.
And we'll get another one of these in the bag closer to the show with Stephen Cassidy, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that is the plan. So we did obviously the catch up with Steve last time, and that was one thing. I don't think anything in really bodybuilding in general has ever seen 2 federations coming together and having a chat about what's coming up.
I don't think so, no. It's bodybuilding in Scotland, man. So we're here to support it and bring it up as best we can.
Yeah.
Like the old rising tide lifts all ships thing. So if we can elevate Scottish bodybuilding in some way, we will.
Yeah.
We literally put our heart and soul into this show. So it'll be a bag in 2025.
So yeah, here's to making bodybuilding great again.
Good sign off.
Love it.
And on that note,
Congratulations.
well done. We made it. Sorry for the
Cut.
coughing.